Here.
What's up, guys, and welcome to a remake of the Tabs ability tier list. Now, the first version of this has gained over 1,000 views, being my third video to do so. Now, someone made a comment requesting for me to do this in an actual tier list format. And I really should, because the first one I was just sitting there on the screen rambling for half an hour straight. That video wasn't scripted, and neither is this one, but it's been a year since the last one. I have some new opinions. I have 100 more hours in the game.
I can vouch that it's not scripted because I wrote the script. But you didn't. But you didn't hear that from me.
But we also have Isaac and Jace in the background.
I wrote the script.
Chime in their opinions at some point. So
hey, can we get Dark Peasant Hands out of the way yet?
Well, that being said, let's get straight to it.
Hey, don't ignore me.
We're going in alphabetical order, okay?
I don't care. I don't care. Stop ignoring me.
We'll get to it when we get to it, okay? Starting... We're going to start off with the Aegis Shields. Now, it's a pretty good ability, in all honesty. I think it's probably up there in the A tier. Now, D tier are ones you should not put on your units for one way or another. C tier, there are better options. B tier I'm neutral with them. A tier, they're good, and S tier, they are stupid. Like, really good. So, the Aegis Shield. Blocking projectiles is really good. And the fact that it's a block that can also be used offensively is also good. But its strongest trait is that it can block any projectile at once. There is no limit to what the Aegis Shield can actually block. The Aerovolley...
So it's like Dark Peasant's Hands, but worse?
But actually, like, affordable on a unit. I'm not going to try to bring up the costs that these things do make a unit cost, because for the most part, it's stupid. I really don't like the auto cost for the unit creator because it's really bad. But for one in particular, I will discuss it. Aerovolley. Aerovolley there are much better options. It has decent crowd control. It doesn't do like much for 1v1s unless it's like a giant freaking unit on the screen. Even then, it's only a few of them. It's essentially like it's essentially a more mobile Hwacha. But when using the ability, they can actually attack as well. So it's a little eh. The Assassin Proof, I feel there are just better options. If you want to have a teleporting, there's a much better option that we'll get to for this. It is essentially a one-time use. There is a 5-minute cooldown. Good luck getting a second Assassin Proof off in a minute. That is all I have to say. But, I mean, getting behind the enemy is good, don't get me wrong, so these two are definitely high C tier rather than low C tier, but that still just doesn't mean it's good. Because, again, there are much better options.
Are we going to get our first D tier on the next one?
Backwards dodge, I feel, is a low C tier. The Shogun dodge is better. Even some of the attacks that we'll get to later are a better dodge than this one.
Oh, I thought that one was going to be D because I feel it's the worst to dodge.
This is the Boxer dodge. It probably is the worst dodge, but it's still a dodge and therefore good. There isn't really
a dodge is a dodge.
There isn't really much to say. It doesn't dodge against projectiles. It dodges melee attacks. It's not the most consistent one on the list, but it's definitely alright. Next up, Balloon Backpack, and this
is this the first D?
I feel this is the first D tier one.
Yeah, it sucks. Like, it sucks.
So not only is it like, I mean, it's decent for like a one target thing, but the thing is, Fall damage in tabs is so inconsistent. It is so random. Not even in the amount of damage it deals, but if it happens at all. Sometimes you'll fall from the stratosphere and be completely fine. Sometimes you'll fall 2 inches and just explode. And I know, like, inconsistency and randomness is tabs' whole thing, but if you're gonna try and commit if you're gonna try and do a unliving bombing, you might want to make sure that it's gonna make the target unlive. Banshee Stream. This, I think my opinion on this has changed a bit. I don't have the original one up to look at again because it
Yeah, Banshee Stream is good.
Banshee Stream, it's like really good crowd control. It is one of the best crowd controls because it's...
Thank you, Vader. Thank you, Vader, against those 500 peasants.
It's 360 crowd control, not just like one area in front
Yeah.
of you, like most of these.
And I have bias to it because it saved my game, like not my PC. My PC was fine, but the game from crashing.
No, that is an actual thing. Like, it doesn't matter how good your PC is running tabs. Tabs has a limit to how many units it can put on screen before it starts to crap itself.
Yeah, Jace was poking at that current.
No, we went way above that. So anyway, Banshee Scream, not only does it do like a nice amount of damage and in a very large radius, it also pushes them back. It's not very far, but pushing an enemy back can be very good, especially if you're a ranged unit and against a melee unit. The pushback can't be just underestimated here. Bat Transformation. I'm kind of neutral on this one. It is, like, really good for mobility and stuff. The thing is, there are a few ways to counter it that are stupid, and it counters a few things that is stupid. First off, if you have Pharaoh Kneel, which we'll get to, it just makes the bat just fly up into the stratosphere. It does not come down.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious.
But on the opposite side of the spectrum, this can fully negate something like the Hurricane Slash, which I like to call the Omaiwa mo Shinderu. They transform into a bat and technically become a second unit. So they just aren't affected. They can just remake the distance and just ignore it.
Hey, Skelly.
What?
So the bat transformation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's bad because it can just die to a certain thing, but it's good because it can not get hit by another certain thing, right? Is that what you're saying?
It has good mobility. It's weak if you're like charging into something that has like a massive area of effect projectile. And you can instantly die. If you're against a Pharaoh Kneel unit, just say goodbye to the ground. You're never touching it again.
You're not going back down.
The thing is, it completely negates certain abilities, aka the Hurricane Slash is just the main one. Next up, Big Crow Wings. I'm very neutral on this. I wish you could color them when they are an ability, rather than just when they're an outfit option, but it is multiple abilities in one. It's the ability to fly, it's hovering. You can scale walls with this thing, although I don't know how good that is. There aren't really many walls in the game that you need to scale. And all wing units can do that. They can scale up like a direct 90-degree slope, so I don't really have many opinions on this.
Okay, another question for the thing that we were just on, bat transformation. I forgot to ask because I had to mute to do something. It can't negate ballista.
It's fast enough.
Can negate ballista bullets.
It's fast enough to just not get hit by it.
That's good enough.
But I mean, if you do get hit by it, you're just gone. You're off the map. You're doomed.
already in the stratosphere.
Big Headbutt is I'm neutral to, not because I think it's bad or good or anything, just simply because I haven't used it really enough to form an opinion on it.
How many more of the no opinions do you have on this list?
I think only one more. There's only like
Cactus
one.
Explosion?
No, I have an opinion on that. The only thing
I'm about to see why it's E
actually
tier.
the only thing I don't have, the only other one I don't have an opinion on because I haven't used it enough is Foolish Jump. So we'll go ahead and put that there as well. So these two are just in the B tier because I physically have not played with them enough. I don't even remember what unit. Big Headbutts from Blackbeard, and I don't know which jump Foolish Jump is. Is it even like from a unit?
I think it might be from the Jester or the ball and chain.
Ball and chain. So yeah, I haven't had nearly enough experience with neutral abilities in order to form any sort of opinion. Explosive Death, this is another D tier one. I put it back in the C tier last time because that tier was for there is a better option. And yes,
I'm about to join on my PC, so.
And yes, there is a better option, but the thing is, this grenade both barely hits ever and also does very, very little damage.
Ooh.
Bomb Spin. This is another really good one for area control. This is probably the lowest of the A tier that we've seen so far. Actually, no, definitely. Because if you're a small enough unit, you can actually take fall damage from the height you get to after Bomb Spin.
That's funny.
Like, it doesn't deal too much damage, but it is still just pretty good crowd control. It's much less than the Banshee Scream, so it is definitely like low A tier. Cactus Explosion. I'm kind of neutral to this one because it is a very small area of effect, but it has a much shorter cooldown than both Bomb Spin and Banshee Scream. It also does less damage than either of them, so it's worse, but it's also faster. Cannonball Barrage. This is high B tier, bordering on A tier, because there aren't many cannonballs, which really limit its crowd control. But if you're against a really big enemy, these cannonballs deal massive damage. Like, one Cannonball Barrage can kill an ice giant in the game. Or I think it's two, actually. It's like really easy to do. Cavalry Charge, and it's kind of eh. I don't really have many opinions on all of the charges. This one, it's medium. It's got like low medium range. They back up and then charge forward, which I mean gives the enemy an extra second to prepare or something. I mean, I know no unit like actually prepares to get charged on or anything, but still, they back up and then they go forward. If they just didn't back up, this would probably be a lot better. Chronomancer Dial, thanks to what it did against Saitama. This is like definitely actually like a high A tier one.
Just because of the combo.
It's got a really respectably short cooldown, and being frozen even for like the 0.75 seconds that it does, that can be life or death. Like
Saitama going across the map, be like, you don't say. Whee!
And there's also an added chance of some fall damage, and if you get like multiple of them, they could theoretically just completely time lock someone in place forever. Chronomancer Transformation, this is a B tier one, simply because it is both. It is both amazing and terrible. And actually, same with the Demon Transformation. Now, the issue with these is, well, you're forced to transform into the second stage Void Monarch or the second stage Chronomancer. They are strong base game units, don't get me wrong, but they are still base game units. As soon as you transform, you lose out on any previous abilities you had, any like previous buffs or damaging you had, a higher HP pool if you had one of those. But if you're a weaker unit, particularly for the Chronomancer Transformation, I can
There's
see
a lot
it
of
being really
bees.
good.
There's a lot of bees here.
It's the neutral one, yeah, because like they're not good, but they're not really bad either. Like,
Well,
they can
you're not one of our great students, but you're not one of our bad ones. You're an average. I think being called average would be worse than being called bad.
Crow Wings, I'm putting this in high D tier, maybe C tier. It's one of the two, but you're just really too small to do much.
We're coming up. We're coming up to our first S tier.
You can't really like fly with them. And
I feel like you should make a tier in of itself for one of the next ones.
I know what you're talking about, but anyway, wow, these are small. They're spazzing. They spaz out so often because a normal unit isn't meant to have such tiny wings. They're meant to be on a crow. And so that's why I really think that these ones are a D tier ability rather than a C tier one. Demon Wings, we can put that in B. They're very sporadic if you've seen like any unit I've made that has these wings. They don't even actually no, we'll put them in C because it doesn't even really seem like they fly at all. It's like almost purely cosmetical, and there's just one in the abilities one. I just think it's funny how much they spaz out on a unit. And now we get to the big bad of the abilities, the Dark Peasant Hands. And while, yes, when giving this to any unit, it makes their cost jump up to the millions, I cannot overlook how good it is. This is the top of the top ability, the most powerful one. And if you really need me to explain why, you probably just haven't played the game like at all. But anyway, I will explain why for those of us that haven't played enough of the game or maybe haven't seen the new Dark Peasant. It is immune to all projectiles. Every single one. Does not matter how many, it does not matter what they are. He is immune to them. Because he just says, talk to the hand. He has infinite hands. He has more hands than there are pixels in the game. He has more hands than there are bytes of data on the internet. On top of that, those hands aren't just good against range units. They can grab a melee unit and chuck it back. And if he gets too swarmed, they expand and implode, sending all units flying back. They're also a ranged attack as well, although no, that's just his attack. And it's not even like you need to like press a button if you're controlling a unit that has Dark Peasant Hands against ranged units. It's automatic. It's one of those automatic ones. So it's just got like literally everything going for it except for price. If you put this on any unit, even like the basic 100 HP 1x modifier unit that you get in the creator, it still jumps up to 5 million. Next up, Dragon Kick, Dragon Punch, and Enrage all go in the S tier. Now these ones, for Dragon Kick and Dragon Punch, they are both fun and super effective. The Dragon Punch deals like 3/4 of a super boxer HP, and that is like an amazing amount of HP, and the Dragon Kick is just the same. It's also really funny when you have a unit with Dragon Kick and they get hit by a Cupid arrow because they fly. They go flying because the Dragon Kick, they jump up into the air and have their foot catch fire. and then come crashing down. It's like an area. It's like if you ever played Smash Bros, the Dragon Punch. It's actually more similar to Captain Falcon's side B than neutral B because it's movement as well. And then Dragon Kick is definitely down B. I'd say aerial down B more, but eh. Fencer Dodge is a C tier ability because there are just better dodges in the game. He goes forward, attacks, and then steps back. It's not like a passive dodge or anything, he has to attack. So on something like a ranged unit, this isn't like... I don't even know how it works, to be honest, on a ranged unit.
Man, you know what I'm gonna do after this tier list's done? What? I'm gonna give a unit Dark Peasant Hands, Dragon Kick, Dragon Punch, and Rage, and whatever the next S tier is.
Okay. You might want to do two, because the S tier is actually going to be kind of filled with really good abilities, because there are a lot of really good abilities. Next up, Fire Breath is another S tier ability.
Is Ice Breath the same thing?
No.
Ice Breath sucks.
The fire ones are so much better than the ice ones, and here's why. Fire is really, really damaging. It is actually kind of stupidly damaging. Like the Fireball Throw, multiple units that have Fireball Throw, back when I didn't record, I did a speed run. I put units against Undying the Undying, adequate cost, of course, and saw how fast it took to actually kill her. And, like, the top 10, like, 7 of them had Fireball Throw. Fire is so good in this game. And when we get to
maybe it was because she's a fish.
When we get to ice, I can explain, like, even more so why.
I think you just don't like ice. Just like the same thing with Pokemon.
It's not even that. It's just that they kind of got dealt a bad hand here. Again, like in Pokemon. But Fire Breath, it deals damage. It's infinite. That's the biggest reason why it's up in S tier. It is infinite. It never runs out as long as the unit is in the range of the Fire Breath. And also, most importantly, second most importantly, actually, because the damage it deals, kind of could be higher, could be worse, doesn't really matter, but it is really good at keeping units back.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just...
Who left the stream? Was it Jace?
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, Jace is still in. I just heard the doo-doo-doo.
Maybe he joined now, anyway.
Maybe he just joined. I don't know.
Yeah, Fire Breath deals damage, keeps them back, and it's infinite, and therefore it is an S tier ability.
Oh.
Firewave is a high A tier ability. It is
maybe because it has fire.
It's much shorter range than Fire Breath, like extremely short range. It kind of incapacitates both sides, as the one using Firewave, like, leans forward to spit fire out, and then falls on his face, and then needs to get up. But the other side gets hit with the fire, falls back, and then also has to get up. It is, again, damage over time. Now, Firestorm and Ice Storm both get to be in... Actually, no. They get to be in the C tier. Because the breath options for these are so much better. Because units using these don't know how to lead their ability. They'll just stand there and put it up where the enemy was. So, like, if they're walking forward at anything above the normal movement speed, they will just completely ignore the entire storm. That being said, Firestorm is better than Ice Storm when it hits.
Because it's fire?
Yep.
Self-explanatory, it's fire.
Giant Foot Stomp is an A tier ability. Probably low A tier though. It doesn't have like the most range, but it doesn't like the most radius, but it doesn't need to. It deals a pretty respectable amount of damage and has like a very, very respectable cooldown actually. But the best thing about this ability I found is how useful it is on tall units. If you make a unit that is too tall and you can't exactly fine-tune the weight in order to help it stand up and attack, the giant foot stomp will like 8 times out of 10 fix that issue for you. They'll lay on the ground, something comes close, they'll flip over, stomp, they're back on their feet again. So, interestingly enough,
That's a hee hee ha ha moment.
that is actually Giant Foot Stomp's greatest trait, and that's why I put it in the A tier rather than the B tier.
It does suck that we're never gonna get a second one of those. Second on tabs. Doesn't that suck?
Yeah.
And they'll never have any more updates unless it's quality of life. But other than that,
I really hope they just do more quality of life updates. Like, they've openly said before the light and dark faction came out that they were not going to make any more factions after their next one. Which I completely understand, because what else do you do? I mean, I would like to see, like, the Neon faction come back, because that would be cool. But there are some weapons we have that emulate the Neon faction. I would also really like to see a return of the Chicken Man and Chicken Man. The Legacy faction would have been perfect for that, but we really just missed an opportunity there. Godlike Projectile Block. Let's talk about that. So, it actually blocks the second least amount of projectiles, only ahead of this standard projectile block. But the thing is, it can block 3 of any projectile in the game. And this is just way worse than the Aegis Shield, because not only does it block less projectiles, but it also can't really be used effectively. But the Aegis Shield is kind of like a big, like, look thing. So if you want to have something that can block, like, ballista bolts, but be a small unit, without this huge glowing yellow bubble around it, the GPB would be your better option. It also does actually make a unit cost more than the Aegis Shield, so it is, like, just worse shield in almost every way. Gravestone Wall, we'll put it here in the B tier. I haven't had much experience with this, but I have enough to form an opinion. It's kind of useful, like, sometimes. The thing is, it just doesn't have enough force behind it. So, the idea is, you'll raise a wall of gravestones at, like, medium range-ish, and move them forward, pushing melee units back away from you as a ranged unit, or even as a melee unit to just, like, disrupt them, make them have to stand up again and stuff, but it just doesn't have the pushback necessary to do that. Like, if you're heavy enough, you can just ignore it completely. Moving on to Giant Stiffy Fear. This is a B tier ability because it is good. It fears, it makes something scared no matter what. There is nothing that can deny this Giant Stiffy Fear, unlike the regular Stiffy Fear. Well, the thing is, this is my opinion for this and a few other abilities. Giant Fear and another ability we'll see later aren't really the best in all reality. Because picture this. You're a melee unit. You walk up to a ranged unit and make it run like a quarter way across the map. Now what? Now you have to go make up that distance while they're shooting you again. That is definitely a case that happens way more in my 1v1 tournaments than it would in, like, a real scenario, because I always use simulation and it's a giant open field and there's not, like, corners to get caught in or anything. But it's still a scenario that can happen. You send the ranged unit way back, and now you just have to make up distance against the ranged unit again. Halfling Jump. this is actually like a high B tier ability because while it is such short range, it has a very low cooldown, and well, you jump directly onto them rather than like over them or above them or near them.
Who the frick is Scoundrel Sands? The frick
There isn't really much to say about Halfling Jump. Hey!
Bro, it's just some edgy epic Sans, but with a bat. That's what he looks like. Bruh.
Hey, while I can't deny how stupid it looks, I also can't really deny how good it is as a shield. Below, it's worse than Aegis Shield, and that's the only one it's worse than, simply because the Aegis Shield can also be used offensively and not just defensively. So, Hey not only has a 360 defense radius, but it also makes your hitbox like really small for a ranged attack. And by ranged attack, I mean piercing ranged attack. So there are a few weapons that can just negate this by like bombs and stuff, or like Divine Arbiter Orb. So maybe it's like right next to God like Projectile Block in all reality. But still, having 360 protection against piercing projectiles all of the time, like it's not like the shield where it can go down. That's pretty good. I need to start hurrying up. Headbutt.
Yeah, you do.
B tier. A little bit of movement, not much damage, but and also not really enough recovery. Hover. Probably low A tier. Can actually float above clams. So if you're up against a unit that has clams as an attack, you just completely ignore it because they can't actually get to you. It also like makes you completely immune to fall damage. You can scale walls and stuff. You are actually lighter when you have hover on, so you can be pushed back a bit further. Hurricane Slash. This is another S tier ability, as this is really fun to see used effectively. Not only does it do a huge amount of damage, technically the most damage in the game, essentially, always doing up to 1/6 of an enemy's HP, their maximum HP. You can kill any unit in the game with 6 Hurricane Slashes. And it also like holds them in place so you can like really chain them together. And when it just goes through a group of weak enemies perfectly, oh my god, it is the most satisfying thing that has like ever been done in tabs. It's why I call it the Omae wa mo Shinderu. Ice Arena. This is a B tier ability, as high B tier ability. So raises ice around and kind of traps you into a 1v1. This can be good or bad, depending on the unit you're 1v1ing, so that is why pretty much why it's in B tier. It's pretty good against most projectiles, but there are, like, any homing projectile will find its way through. Same with, like, a lot of different, like, crows can find its way through, and they're technically projectiles because it's a ranged attack, but I digress. Ice Breath is another B tier one. It is high B tier, but here's why it is so much worse than Fire Breath, and why ice weapons just kind of in general have been worse than fire-based weapons. So ice-based weapons, they don't actually really do damage, except for Icicle's Throw and Uller Axe. If there were to be an update, I would request that there be like an effect on the HP bar that like tells you how frozen something is, because it is based on damage. The more on HP, the more HP you have, the more freezing attacks you have to take. So there are multiple reasons why Ice Breath is worse. Against like any tanky unit, it's not gonna do well, like at all. It's gonna take so long to actually even make them a little bit slowed down. It doesn't push them back like Fire Breath does, but most importantly, it runs out. It's not infinite. Fire Breath is infinite. So that's a really big thing.
Oh my god, how many more do you have to go?
A lot. No, I'll just get these two out of the way. Slow Walk, Wait, and Lay Down are very much so obviously joke abilities, rather than supposed to be like good abilities or like used abilities. So they are in D tier. You should not use them on a serious unit, but if you want to just have fun and show rounds, absolutely. Shout, it's another D tier one, and I actually think it is the worst practical ability in the game. It has the same problems that Stiffy Fear does, and in fact, Stiffy Fear is also going down here. As you just shout them across the map, and it's actually even worse because, unlike with Fear, they can't attack while being pushed back. And if you have a unit that's too heavy, Shout just doesn't do anything. It doesn't deal any damage. It doesn't do like anything ever. You need a tiny map in order to do something. Spin to Win, I also think just by itself, it's not a good ability. And it takes a while to get going. It's not really practical at all. It's just kind of eh. And you know what? We'll get these ones out of the way. Painter Dodge. Let's see here. Painter Dodge, normal Projectile Block, and Pirate Quick Kick are all here just because there are much better versions in all of them. Mad Mechanic Tank, I don't even know what it does. It doesn't even seem to do anything. So that's why it's here in D tier. Mosaic Wings, these can be in B tier. Just like I was gonna put Demon Wings, but these are in B tier because it actually makes them fly. Jester Dodge is actually by far the best of the melee dodges because not only really fast cooldown, but you are actually invincible while in the process of dodging. And that's something that not a lot of people know of because I didn't even know about it until I read it on the wiki. Like, when you're backflipping, you have complete invulnerability. Jester Kick, it's a B tier one. There are better kicks, but it's not bad. And we'll also put Red Jade Kick here as well. Night Charge, we'll do all the charges now. I think Night Charge is one of the better ones. Mammoth Charge is decent, but not the best of them. Minotaur is worse. Mammoth, it has a less range, less damage, and like less knockback. Night Charge is the best because of its short range and very short cooldown. If you charge into something, you don't want to charge past them like too much, like with these other ones.
Okay, I pull up.
That's why it's there. Legacy Impale, this goes in the S tier. This is, I think, maybe the second best ability in the game, and this is one that my opinions have changed on tremendously. Because it just keeps a unit in place. They can't attack, they can't really do anything at all. It's stupid. It's really dumb.
No.
How good it is. We're gonna put Thor Lightning in the high A tier because it deals a very large amount of damage. It has pretty good knockback and it has a large radius, meaning it has pretty good crowd control. Lightning Projectile Block is just even with Godlike Projectile Block, and also Mass Projectile Block can go here too because I don't actually know which one blocks more. I think Mass Projectile Block blocks more, but Lightning Projectile Block has 360 radius, which cannot be overlooked. We'll do all the dodges here as well. So melee dodge from the Boxer, that's a B tier one. Quick draw projectile dodge, that's a high B tier one. Shogun dodge, that can go beside the melee dodge one. And Void Monarch dodge, this is a high A tier one. Now let's go over to why. Melee and Shogun dodge, they're melee dodges. If you want a good melee dodge, you actually just go with the Jester Dodge. Because you get immunity. Quick draw projectile dodge is the best projectile dodge, but if you want to do anti-projectile, there are so many more good blocks rather than this dodge and the Painter Dodge. See here. And then Void Monarch dodge is so good. It can hardly be considered a dodge in reality. So you get hit, you take damage, you teleport in, cause a damage effect over time, and it's just really good. Like, the damage you deal when you teleport in is no joke. If you're a melee unit, you get hit with a ranged attack, you teleport in immediately and just start wrecking things. Evil Ultimate has used this ability to just tremendous extent. Do we have any more jumps? Yes. So Monkey King Jump is a B tier 1, and Super Jump is also a B tier 1, but a bit higher. Like, so Super Jump, you jump far, like really far. You'll jump over melee units and be able to kill ranged ones, and then have a smaller jump to jump on the melee ones immediately. The Monkey King Jump doesn't have nearly as much range, and also you get a giant stupid tail on your back that you can't get rid of.
That's hilarious.
But you jump high into the air rather than straight at them. Order Units Charge is definitely an A tier ability. The amount of speed you gain is so good. On a ranged unit, it is tremendous because you actually back up faster than most enemies can walk forward. Like, Soldier uses this to great extent when he is using backup. Order Unit Stay, however, this is a B tier 1. As it just lines units up to get shot down or splash damage into oblivion. It's definitely not the ability that Order Units charges. Pharaoh Kneel is another S tier ability, probably the low. Actually, maybe in Fire Breath is probably the lowest of them on here. So Pharaoh Kneel, not only does it do damage, but this can honestly be ignored because the amount of damage it deals is really pathetic. But it slows units down, and most importantly, makes them unable to attack. Their attack cooldown becomes like 10 plus seconds, and it's not even allowed to start moving down until after the kneel is done. This is actually why Bird God is so strong, because you can't fight back against the crows against Bird God, because you're just busy praying. Reaper Explosion is a B tier 1. It is way better than Explosive Death, but this can also cause a chain reaction with other units that have Reaper Explosion. Both Bird God and Skeleness can, like, chain reaction themselves into just all dying, just with one. On the topic of Reaper, the Reaper Wings, those are not wings, those are tentacles. This is a low A tier ability.
Dun dun dun!
Being able to kill 6 low HP units is pretty good in all reality. I actually found out you could technically kill 22,000 cost in the base game, because the highest cost unit you can impale with Reaper Wings is the Sensei. So they can only impale something under 300 HP. And another update I want to see with this is that it doesn't matter what their max HP is, it just matters what their current HP is, because I would love to see that happen, because it makes sense. They're weak, they should be able to get reaped. Red Jade Spin Slash is another pretty low A tier 1. So you just kind of spin right on top of the enemy into battle. And that's really all it is. It doesn't like do much damage on its own, but it is kind of decent. Rocket Volley is a high A tier 1. It is so much better than Aerovolley and Cannonball Barrage. Just both of them. It is really good for crowd control. And even single target damage because of all the damage that the rockets deal. And now we get to another big bad. Self-copy. Oh my god. The reason this is arguably second place ability in this is because the clones that come out of self-copy have self-copy in themselves. So one unit can quickly turn into 50, and then that quickly turns into your game crashing. It is why it is one of only 2 abilities to have actually been banned from my 1v1 league. The only other being the Dark Peasant Hands, because not only is it way too good, but it's also just way too expensive. Shockwave Hammer. This doesn't do nearly enough damage or have enough knockback to be an amazing ability. Shuriken Tempest. This is an A tier 1. It's very erratic. Like, it doesn't deal much damage to one unit. It can deal a lot of damage to a crowd. Like, it goes all around the place. It's not really focused. If it were focused, it would probably be high A tier, arguably S tier, but it's not focused. Solar Maelstrom. This is an A tier ability for the sole reason that this is the only ability that actually heals. Friendly units inside the circle of the Solar Maelstrom actually do receive healing. It's very slight, but healing is healing. Spawn Witches is another A tier ability. This is one that I have changed opinions on because I had Spawn Witches in the top tier last time, and they still deserve a high tier placement. While witches are very weak, if they do attack and get an attack off, they can turn your army against you. Like, they're affected with like cordyceps from The Last of Us and stuff. Like, they will turn on you and attack. Sword Casting is another A tier 1 because very respectable DPS and really low cooldown as it's automatic. It has a wide range and also can kind of keep smaller units down. Sword Implosion is better Shockwave Hammer. It does more damage and actually pushes units around a lot more. Taekwondo Kick is an A tier 1 because the amount of damage the Taekwondo Kick deals is kind of insane sometimes. Like, you'll kick something and it'll fly off the map. Teacher Parry, kind of B tier. It doesn't even really seem that good for, like, it's very useful on small sword versus small sword, but it can't block big swords. It can't really block shields. It can't block a lot of things, so it's actually probably lower B tier. Tornado Swipe is mid B tier. It can scatter units. It can deal some damage through fall damage. It's got a decent cooldown, I guess, but it's kind of it. Just kind of scatters units around a bit. Valkyrie Wings, probably low A tier, I would say. Not only do you fly, but you also get a dive bomb ability. This is one the other ones don't have. You fly so high that even more units can't reach you. While normal things, like almost no melee unit can reach you. Crows can't reach you for whatever reason. Apparently crows don't know how to fly up. Clams can't reach you, obviously, but as soon as you dive bomb, all of those things can reach you. It's not even like you can avoid it by being a ranged unit. No, it'll still make you drop down to the floor in order to shoot. Vampire Bite is another... Where did I put that? Where did it go? Vampire Bite. Yeah, it's another actually A tier 1, as it is so good for 1v1s. Where the heck did I put it? Where did it go?
Where did he come from? Where did he go? Where did he come from?
But yeah, Vampire Bite's up here. Should be up here somewhere. There it is. Yeah. It's really good for 1v1s. You can just pin a unit down and just continue to just drain him. Vlad Impale is probably another really low A tier 1.
Drain him?
Yeah. Drain them. Vlad Impale, it's decent cooldown. It doesn't deal much damage. It has long decent range because it comes out in 3 waves that'll go high. keeps them stuck for like a second, but it is just way worse than the Legacy Impale. So with that being said, this is my tier list for Tab's abilities. If you want my opinion, Dark Peasant Hands is first place, Self Copy is second place, and Legacy Impale is third place, with all these other ones being pretty close for fourth place. And in my opinion, the worst ability in the game, I mean, obviously, Lay Down and Slow Walk exists, but the worst ability that actually has a practical use, because those two are just jokes, Shout is by far the worst ability in my opinion. So that being said, I hope you all enjoyed, and of course, have a good day.